Now time for the 7 things you'll be talking about today. Number 7.
I think we are all aware that Tommy Tuberville will once again be leading the charge on Donald Trump's nominees and trying to get them confirmed, as he did with now Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Robert F. Kennedy, of course, will be one of the harder ones to get through, as will Tulsi Gabbard. But Tommy Tuberville is also issuing some other warnings here about health issues in regards to RFK's confirmation process, I assume. Talking about how Ritalin and Adderall, how all of this is overprescribed, leading to a dependency among young Americans. He's raising this alarm, saying that he can see the changes in young Americans over the last couple of decades. This is a very interesting comment being made by Tommy Tuberville, and I think it's just like the red dye conversation. Everyone knows it's true. Very few people talking about it, but Tommy Tuberville out here leading the charge.
Number 6.
With President Donald Trump serving his second term, some people are already speculating about the 2028 presidential election. Why? Well, because they're degenerate gamblers. That's why. Vice President J.D. Vance is currently considered the frontrunner amongst Republicans, with Gavin Newsom and Josh Shapiro of California and Pennsylvania, respectively, considered the frontrunner amongst Democrats. I'm not sure I buy either of those. I think the J.D. Vance thing is obvious. He is the frontrunner. But on the Democratic side, we're probably going to have someone we're not even thinking about come out and be the potential nominee. Other names, Donald Trump Jr. and Michelle Obama, are names that I do not want to hear in this conversation. Governor Ron DeSantis and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez seem to be in the mix as well, at least right now.
Number 5.
About those eggs, everyone's talking about those eggs, but I don't think many people are being very honest about what the conversation about the eggs should actually be about. Yes, are they expensive? Yes. Is inflation a big part of that? Yes. Did Donald Trump and his administration, before they were in office, say they were going to bring them down? Of course. But right now, a bird flu outbreak is leading to a spike in egg prices on top of the massive inflation we saw during the Biden administration. Now, it is absurd for anyone to get on television or ask in an interview about the price of eggs and why nothing is being done about it over the first 7 days. But the media is doing that. The reality is this: egg supplies are strained. The price is going to remain up for a while. Whether or not people can explain that, that's the real question.
Number 4.
Advocates for legalizing a state lottery and bringing sports betting to the great state of Alabama are now ramping up their efforts ahead of the 2025 legislative session, highlighting the billions of dollars in potential lottery winnings and millions in tax revenue from online sports betting. Both of those stats are correct. That is what is being left on the table. Is it worth the change you're going to see in the state of Alabama if we do that? That's the discussion Alabamians need to have. Groups like the Petroleum and Convenience Marketers of Alabama, they want lottery. The Sports Betting Alliance, they want sports betting. And the legislative session is starting, and there are a lot of opponents to this for obvious reasons: harm for families, encouraging reckless spending, relying on volatile sources of government to fund the government. But this debate probably will happen here soon.
Number 3.
Speaking of that issue, the House Republican Caucus introduced its 2025 Alabama Values Agenda, outlining priorities including job creation, border security, election integrity, support for active duty military personnel. Public safety is a big part of this, educational opportunities, and pro-life positions. These are all things that we have heard about quite a bit. And the legislature has attempted to address a lot of these things. Like I said before, gambling doesn't really seem to be in the mix here, but rarely do people run around and say, hey, we want to do sports gambling. They'll say stuff like the lottery, but that's not mentioned here either. They've made it very clear they want to see, at least the House members, which is what this is, they want to see the Senate throw the lottery out first before they start moving on it. We'll see where that goes.
Number 2.
Mobile County Sheriff Paul Birch has committed to aiding ICE and its intensified immigration enforcement efforts in Alabama under President Trump, offering up jail space, transport vans, and personnel to support the agency's operations, which we should see more of from our elected officials, because I believe the American people are so strongly behind what is happening right now on the issue of immigration that it is a political winner for everyone involved. And I think you'll see stuff in the Alabama legislature where they focus on this as well. Well, the focus is on undocumented individuals that have committed crimes or have criminal records, as opposed to just people who are here illegally, which, by the way, is also a crime. Birch noted that others present during these operations will be detained as well, reflecting a broader scope of arrest, which, they're here in the country illegally. That's what's going to happen.
Now, time for the number one thing you'll be talking about today.
Complaints on the issue of immigration from our friends in the media and their Democrats, and even some privileged pop stars seem to be falling on deaf ears amongst the American people who support these operations. Why? Well, because in the first week of President Donald Trump's second term, illegal crossings at the United States-Mexico border have plummeted to fewer than 600 daily encounters, a stark reduction compared to the 1,200 to 1,400 daily crossings at the end of the Biden administration, which, by the way, they were touting as a huge success after letting people walk in forever. The Del Rio sector, which previously saw 4,000 daily crossings during the height of the 2023 border crisis, which never ended, recorded only 60 crossings. Trump's immediate declaration of a national emergency at the border and promises to return millions of undocumented immigrants home to their home countries has shown that there is a renewed focus on aggressive immigration enforcement, and Congress is working on bills as well to move on this issue, with United States Senator Katie Britt here from the great state of Alabama talking about restoring funding to building the border wall, which is really what people want. And I think people have made that very, very clear.